Ladies and gentlemen, Quality Question Podcast, where engineering excellence meets business impact, episode 2. Tap subscribe. My name is Brian and will be part of your co-host for this session.
And my good name is Bronson. And today we are glad and being graced by the presence of our good engineer here. He'll introduce himself.
Thank you, Bronson. My name is Felix Ogunda. I'm a software engineer with over 7 years experience. I'm happy to join you guys. I hope we'll have a great time dissecting different topics that we can discuss today. Yeah.
You have stressed on number 7. Is it like your lucky number? It can be a jinx within the quality.
It's a lucky number on my side, but at the moment I just peg it to the number of years I've been actively hands-on in the industry. Yeah.
It's okay. So that will form basis of this conversation. Basically, from the dictionary world or even the general world, when we talk about quality, it means different things to different people. Someone will tell you quality of work. Oh, this shoes is not quality, everything. So I didn't know, based on, I'll narrow down to your industry of those duration. When you hear the word quality, what's one thing that comes to mind like a snap?
Or is it just quantity?
Okay. So my background, initially I'm from the networking and telecom side. So there's a keyword we use in telecoms world called QoS, quality of service. So most of the time when you talk about quality, I used to peg it on quality of service. But to answer your question, when you speak about quality, what comes to my mind is essentially, let's say, delivery to the level that exceeds expectation or meets expectation. Be it in software, be it in product manufacturing, be it in service delivery. Yeah, meeting expectation or exceeding expectation in terms of the product or whatever you need.
So in telco, that you're pegging to, let's say, drop calls or something, the audio quality.
Yeah, in QoS, in telecoms, you're talking about, for instance, if you're talking about routing packets, if you're using your router at home, the chances of your router delivering the packets, by packets now, okay, that one.
Packets of mail.
Packets of data,
Okay.
without losing. Let's say you're transferring a file, a large 1 GB file to another computer through a network. The quality of service will ensure that the file reaches there without any corrupt file getting on the other side. If it's a call, you are able to talk seamlessly without having voice breaking in between. Yes, basically that's what I can define it as at a high level.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Now, when you narrow down to the field that you're practicing much, when the discussion about quality come to mind, what does it trigger?
So now in software, when you talk about quality, we're looking at products that because as someone who has worked as a front-end, back-end, and I've also worked in QA, I think I have a wide scope of all these. So when we are looking at a quality, we're looking at a product. If you're delivering a software solution, a product that is more resilient to a lot of things. Let's say if you are looking at authentication, you've done very good authentication that you don't have aspects where you can be manipulated and have people bypassing. So you're looking at proper product design, you're looking at proper product development, end-to-end testing, and also proper product deployment. You don't just stop at the development part, also proper product deployment. And if there is any means of by proper product deployment, you're looking also at the different tests that you can have. If you have an instance where something is breaking, how quick can you do rollback? And if you're doing upgrades, how quickly can you roll out the upgrades without affecting the main product? So basically, you're looking at a product that is resilient to break it. There's this meme that you usually see of guys, of a software tester holding an engineer giving a baby to a software tester, and the tester throwing the baby, and the engineer is crying. So basically having a resilient product to a lot of things.
So does it mean that is quality about perfection, or is quality about just the purpose fitting its purpose?
Not just perfection, but striving to get to perfection. But at least as you strive, you ensure that you've sealed all the loopholes as you look for more loopholes that you've not yet identified in this case. And this can cut across. It can cut across. You may be, in most projects when you're starting in, you may have the big picture in mind, but as you start working on it is when you can identify some things that are possible. You identify some best practices you can incorporate. And also that cuts across on looking back at a product, because you can finish a project, then you realize the way we implemented a particular feature, there's a better way that we can do it. It doesn't mean that now that you've already done it, you can't revisit. If there's a better way, you can still revisit, because the better way at this point may not be the best way in a near future. Yeah, so I usually look at it broadly that way. Not achieving necessarily perfection at this point, but striving to get to perfection. But we know we never get to perfect, but at least get to 90%.
So if we strike a balance, maybe to compromise some facets to it, does it mean we are affecting quality?
If you compromise, it depends with the system design. That's why system architecture is usually very important. It can make you make these critical feature decisions even before you hit the ground running. So if you make any compromise at the architectural level, you'll be able to know. Unless if what I was saying, where the best at that point was the specific decision you decided to go with, and in the near future you realize that there is a loophole that you need to seal. So in that case, I can say, if you are making these decisions, try and make it at the architectural level. And once you have a good architectural design that is resilient, you can stick to it or deviate a bit. But if you are to make a compromise, just make sure that you are not going to affect the product in a big way. Like the impact of the compromise you're making is not going to affect the product or user experience in a big way.
Okay, and just a follow-up to that, how does the budget come to play in respect to quality?
Budget for the budgets for most products, I can say it depends with whatever solution you guys are working on. But no matter how small the product is, you should have at least some checkpoints that you have. For instance, you can say for a quality sign-in process that is resilient and secure, we have security both for our data and the class that are signing in. You can do OTP, or let's say you're doing single sign-on with Google. You realize that your budget, the implementation may not be as costly, but in the long run you realize that the quality of the implementation is resilient to a lot. So in as much as you're doing this trade-off of budget versus delivering a quality product, if you are experiencing budget constraint, ensure that the fallback plan that you go with can at least handle whatever quality product you're looking towards achieving. And at the moment, the cost of having a low quality product can supersede the quality of just delivering a cheap product out there that is easily susceptible to break it. Let's say if you're doing a financial application, you've saved on budget, yes, you've overlooked a lot of architectural advice you've been given. You can have a simple product that you can present, but now if you start serious usage, you realize you may lose a lot of money in the long run. And if it's data, you're handling critical data, if you experience a situation where you have a data breach, the chances of people trusting your product again is so high, is very low, and it can really affect not only your reputation, but also the chances of growing as a company.
So what you're trying to mean from what I picked for what you're saying is that, so it begs the question that is quality measurable? Or is it emotion? Is it a feeling? Or can we measure so that we can, what determines that now we have a quality product? that has gone maybe a quality process?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
That's a very good question. Yeah, from where I sit, I think you can measure the quality of the product you have at all levels. So the first thing that we usually look at the architectural stage, you can have an overview of the product even before you get your hands on it. Then at the design phase, where you incorporate the different system requirement into a system prototype, you can have a system prototype on the just UI design where you can focus on the quality of experience of the user. So that's one thing you can measure even before you start writing code, because you can create those prototypes, link stuff, you see how the journey is. Then from there, now you get to the code. When you get to the code, I usually advise people to implement test-driven development. So you're looking at engineers. When they're writing code, you ensure you have unit tests for critical functions or methods that you are running. And once you have these unit tests, you will be able to test before each and every deployment. If the tests are running successfully, then you know this product is ready for the initial deployment. So you can have each of the developers implementing unit tests at that stage. That's one way of testing the quality of the code you have. Then once it's there, you can have reviewers. So with the reviewers in the next stage of deployment, they'll be able to look at the different code base that you have. You look at the quality of code that is there. Because reviews are mostly done by seniors. These seniors can advise you and tell you, the way you've implemented this, don't you think this one is better? Or the library you've used can easily be exploited. Do you think if you use this is better? So such kind of revisions before you get to deployment, you'll be able to see these loopholes. So now the next stage will be integration. So at the integration stage, you're looking at tests to see if, because in most of the modern products use several services. And you realize that once you get to this a certain level, you'll realize that this service has to work with another one, So at the integration stage, you'll be testing how can all these systems or all these services work in harmony without breaking, and is there any of them that can cause the system to fail? Because you don't want a situation where I'm only concerned of doing authentication, but the authentication module I've used is going to affect maybe somebody else doing something else. So you don't want that situation where you do a deployment, your code may be perfect, but at the integration stage it's failing. Before we get to production, we need to identify that. That's another test you can have. Then the other one you can do after integration is the most important one, which most people overlook. It's called load test. So what load test does is once we've deployed the application, we see how resilient it is to the number of users that you can get. There are several applications you can use to test this. So basically you can stress the system to, let's say, 1 million hits. You have 1 million people accessing the system at the same time. You don't have to get 1 million users accessing it, but there are some tools you can use to simulate this process, and you see how resilient your system is. And you'll actually get a report. It can tell you, oh, your system at the moment, if it gets to 100K, it cannot run, or if it gets to 100K, for it to run optimally, because there is that optimum performance that you achieve, that you desire. So you can say, if it gets to 100K, you are experiencing this, you will be advised to get more microservices to handle this. So those are different ways that you can test the quality of a product. Then on top of that, you also need manual testing, a bit of manual testing, where you don't just rely on what automated solutions give you. You can have some people in the office testing the product, how resilient it is. I'm sure there are many things that people can see that you may not be able to have. So for manual testing, there are two approaches that I've seen. One that I usually value the most is the customer feedback. You can have your product accessible to a certain set of customers who can give you real-time feedback. Told you, oh, we downloaded your app. When we log in, we are experiencing this. It's something you may have overlooked, because in most cases as a developer, you suffer from what we call information bias. So what information bias basically means is you like your product so much that even when you are testing, you are looking at things that actually work. There are some things that you may overlook. You think it's simple, it's normal to you.
So like, for instance, on Play Store, Apple Store, those feedback that people give, what you're trying to advise is that the developer should take those feedback into consideration.
Exactly.
Thank you for that. And also, before Brian asks you another question, my question would be: I've seen your blogs and articles around testing about the standards being used, maybe ISO standards, Six Sigma being applied. I don't know whether you have heard of those or you have applied that in your day-to-day work. What's your take on those? And do they really fully cover quality testing when it comes to product development?
The different ISO standards that are there, the main thing they offer you is a guideline on as I said earlier, we are striving towards getting to perfection. So they give you a guideline that you can basically use as a checkbox to see if your product actually meets most of the criteria that they have given you as what you need to have accomplished to achieve a certain level of near perfection in this case.
By using or applying those standards, do you think or do you feel like the users feel the impact?
Yes, definitely. Definitely, they'll definitely feel the impact because for a while now, these standards have been guiding how technology has been evolving over time. In terms of getting better user security in terms of data, security in terms of making sure that developers get to a certain level of standard. So you don't not only get that, because there are some platforms, for instance, if you talk about the Apple Store, there are some rules that they give developers. Your product cannot be published on this platform unless you meet this. It meets this. If you have these checkboxes done, then you can submit. So it makes it easy for developers to not be that lazy. Where you just have a working product, you overlook the quality and all.
Lazy developers are the best. Anyway, Brian, you had a question.
Not really much of a question. It's just to add on that, and to our respective viewers, maybe if you think you're struggling and everything, that's where we come in. Right from the beginning, we define what's the quality. How do we plan around the guiding principles when you talk about ISO and everything? Within information security, we do better within the 27001 policy. How do we handle the client's data and everything? The human touch for manual also, just to add, is something that we have engraved within the DNA in different aspects of our solutions that needs more human touch. So we have our own drill on how we able to run that. And then based on that, maybe we rank how we can do automation to bring a bit of confidence on that, or which mundane tasks can we build up on within automation, or even within the AI ecosystem, just to go in and everything. So just last question as we go, as we wind down
the conversation. But before that, Brian, maybe to our viewers, maybe at least expound on ISO 2007. Sounding just you're sounding.
It's because you guys brought that conversation of ISO. So with that, majorly it guides us in respects to how do we handle information control, that is information system. Example, the gadgets, having the IP for the client. So we need to have a modality of how we handle the information, who's actually handling it, how, when, where, and also what kind of network can you access with certain kind of preparatory data or information. Additional part also is just controls on there's usually business data that we interact with, let's say based on every client. We say we have done NDA, but other than NDA, we can't say NDA now is bulletproof. We just know to showcase we have a bit of controls that access level, how do we of access level to different person, how do we of credentials of certain level of actually doing approval in a workflow or something. So that's something that's usually engraved within that. Just to wind up, I realized you talked about we went for this solution as this is the best at this moment based on ideation and everything. So there's a movie called 0 Day, and now for me, from that I saw the coining of 0 bugs. Does the word exist?
0 bugs.
Yes,
And it sounds like a myth. So should it
0 bugs. Maybe someone is trying to secure the bug and then you're like 0 bugs. But for these bugs, it's more vulnerabilities. Yeah.
There's that aspect where, as I was saying, at a particular point, you may think that you figured out everything, but until you pop that bubble of information bias, you'll realize that there are many things you may have overlooked. That's why focusing on, there are 2 things that I will actually encourage all aspiring engineers and different companies to adopt. The key thing that I'll advise is what we call product ownership. So product ownership basically means you don't just write code and leave it there. I've written my code, I'm done. I'm not giving any expert advice. I'm not giving best practices. If you're a tester, you're not just testing what you've been given in the scenarios that you're supposed to test. You can get out of your way, and there are many things you'll identify. So the ideal situation is having the 0 day where you have 0 bugs, but to be pragmatic in the real world, it may only be temporary, maybe for a few days before you dig in deeper and you realize there is something that you had overlooked that can be exploited, and if exploited can affect either the quality of the product in terms of use case or user experience, or if it is pegged to financial transactions, it can cost you a lot of money. Okay. And if it's data, it may result to a serious data breach that can affect.
And now in the age of AI, you have like coders. Now, without AI-generated code, now who owns quality in this case?
With the AI-generated code, you will need a lot of testers at different levels to ensure that whatever product...
AI testers?
Not really AI testers, but now before you just roll out a product out there, have serious engineers test it so that we can see...
But I thought AI is eating software developer.
Okay, the thing is AI, my view of AI for a very long time since it became big is AI is supposed to be your helper, not the main thing that's doing the whole work. It should just help you achieve your goals faster. If it's building system prototype, you should build it faster, but it does not mean that it should build the project for you. You have no clue what you're doing. For instance, you're saying I want a product in Go, so you just come there, you have no knowledge, you say build for me a solution in Go, and when you get into unfamiliar territory, chances of you overlooking several things is so high because you don't have the domain knowledge. Okay. So having testers who have knowledge in this before you roll out is very, very important. Okay. So you don't, there was a serious data breach that happened sometime last year. There was this application called T-App. It was launched in the US. And a few days after launching, there was a serious data breach.
T-App is Tinder?
No. So T-App, it was an application where, just to give you guys context, it was an application. The problem they were solving is they wanted ladies who are matchmaking with their partners online. If somebody...
T-App, so it's Tinder?
No, T like chai. Yes. So they just rank the different people they have dated. For instance, if a lady dated me, they can go post my profile there and say Felix is a nice guy. He can give you this, or another person can say Felix is very stingy. It's like reviews for
dating.
Yeah. So if you go somewhere, you match with someone, these ladies will come to the application, search your name, then they can see reviews from the different people you've dated.
Okay.
Yeah.
Making Brian shake.
I'm getting a notification from my producer. In 30 seconds, you can face camera 2 and actually give the parting shot. And camera 2 is one on the middle.
Okay.
And give maybe a parting shot in 30 seconds.
So quality is very, very important for your application. Always strive to get to at least a solution that is near perfection, but ensure that you always have the basics covered before you get into the new and familiar aspects of tests that you've not covered. So Technobrain is that company. You can always reach out, as Brian had earlier on highlighted.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Felix, for the hosting and everything, and definitely mentioning our sponsors for the podcast for this session. It's been real. This is episode 2. Follow us for more. Until next time, adios, muchachos.